The control room of Virelia's capital was in complete panic. Everyone stood still, eyes locked on the glowing map showing red dots moving fast toward their planet. These red dots were enemy ships, and there were too many of them. The last of their defenses had already fallen. Only Virelia remained now, the last hope of their people, their final stand. Commander Jalen stood frozen in place. His long fingers clutched the edge of the table, his golden eyes shining with fear. He had seen war before. He had given orders that sent thousands into battle, but never had he felt like this. Completely hopeless. The enemy was too strong, their weapons too advanced, their numbers too big. No help was coming, no miracle was left. Just silence and the slow end of their world. A young officer named Naro broke the silence. His voice trembled. "There has to be something. We can't just sit here and wait to die." Jalen looked at him. His face showed nothing. "What do you expect us to do? Our weapons don't work on them. Our fleet is gone. We're out of options." Naro didn't answer right away. He quickly typed something into the control panel. A hidden file came up on the screen, old and dusty, from a time long ago. "I found this in the old records," he said. "Back when we were still exploring space. It talks about a species unlike any other. They didn't fight with power. They fought with trickery and no mercy." Jalen frowned. "What species?" Naro took a shaky breath. "Humans." The word hit the room like a cold wind. Everyone glanced at each other. Jalen shook his head. "Humans are just a legend. Stories made to scare younglings. No one has seen them in hundreds of years." "We thought they were gone," Naro said. "But this file says they didn't disappear. They cut themselves off. No more messages, no more travel. They just vanished." "But right before they left, they sent this." He pressed a button. An old audio file played, full of static and noise, but the words were clear. "If you ever find yourself in a war you can't win, if extinction is your only future, call us. But know this, we don't come to talk. We come to end wars for good." No one spoke. A senior officer muttered, "Even if they exist, why would they help us? And how do we reach them?" Naro brought up one more file. It showed an emergency beacon, coordinates and a signal meant only for them. Jalen's mind raced. Stories said humans were dangerous. Some called them monsters, others heroes. All agreed they were unpredictable. If the stories were true, they might be the only chance left. Jalen gave the order. "Send the signal." Naro didn't wait. His fingers flew across the console, activating the beacon and sending it deep into space, a desperate call to a species long forgotten. Then silence. Heavy and cold, the officers stared at the blank screens, praying for even a small sign. But space stayed quiet, unbothered, uncaring. Outside, the stars moved slowly over a dying world. Inside, they waited and hoped. "अगर आप तैयार हैं, तू के हैं, next part, और मैं अगला हिस्सा लिखता हूँ." You said, "Yes, ChatGPT said." The silence in the control room stretched on thick like fog. Every eye was fixed on the screens, waiting for something, anything to happen. Outside, the enemy fleet was getting closer. Their ships filled the sky like a black storm, creeping closer by the hour. Each minute felt like a lifetime. Commander Jalen stood at the front of the room, hands behind his back, jaw tight. His golden eyes were locked on the holographic map. The enemy ships were already crossing into their atmosphere. Virelia had only hours left. Naro was at his station, fingers moving fast as he monitored the signal they had sent. The beacon was still active, still broadcasting their plea to the stars. But no reply had come, not even static. The hope that had flickered earlier was slowly fading again, smothered by reality. "We were fools to believe," one officer whispered. "The humans are gone. They're not coming." Jalen didn't respond. He wanted to believe. He needed to. But even he was starting to feel the weight of hopelessness pressing down. Then, just when the silence became too much to bear, a soft beep echoed through the room. Naro's head shot up. "Wait! Something's coming through." The room fell, deathly quiet. He leaned in, eyes wide as lines of code began to scroll across his screen. It wasn't just noise, it was organized. "A pattern! They're responding," Naro said, voice barely a whisper. "It's them!" Jalen turned sharply. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Naro said, trembling. "Same frequency, same coordinates." Gasps filled the room. Some officers stood from their seats in disbelief. It felt impossible, but it was real. A few seconds later, another signal came in, short, clear, and undeniable. "We are coming." Those 3 words changed everything. Jalen took a step forward, heart racing. After all this time, after the stories and the doubts, the humans were real. And they had heard them. But outside, the world was still crumbling. The enemy ships had broken through the outer shields. Explosions lit up the sky. Their defenses were falling fast. Ground trembled under the force of enemy landings. They didn't have much time left. "Can we boost the signal?" Jalen asked. "I'll try," Naro said, quickly tuning the system. "But enemy interference is strong." More tremors shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. The enemy had started attacking the city directly now. Then suddenly the signal changed again. This time it was clearer, stronger. A direct message flashed across the screen. "Hold your ground, we'll handle the rest." And right then the sky tore open. Ships appeared, dark, silent, and fast, unlike anything Virelia had ever seen. Sleek and sharp like knives, they cut through the air with terrifying grace. Then they opened fire. The humans had arrived. Within seconds, the enemy fleet was in chaos. Human ships moved like ghosts, silent, but deadly, tearing through enemy formations. Explosions lit up the heavens. Enemy warships turned into falling wreckage. The officers inside the control room watched in awe and disbelief. The battle had changed in an instant. Naro whispered, "We asked for help, but what did we really bring here?" Jalen didn't speak. His eyes were locked on the sky, watching as the humans fought, not with hesitation, but with complete and terrifying precision. They weren't saving Virelia. They were destroying anything that stood in their way. And suddenly Jalen realized something. This wasn't just a rescue. This was a warning. The ground shook as another wave of explosions rocked the city. Enemy machines rained fire from above. Buildings crumbled, and the sky glowed orange with destruction. The city of Virelia was burning. Screams echoed through the streets as civilians ran for cover. Their last line of defense was barely holding on. Commander Jalen stood at the center of the war room, eyes locked on the live feed showing the sky battle. It was no longer a fight. It was a massacre. But this time, not of his people, the human. Ships moved like predators. They didn't just attack, they hunted. Each move was exact, each blast precise. Enemy warships that had seemed unstoppable moments ago were now nothing more than floating wreckage. Panic had taken over the invaders. They were trying to retreat, but there was no escape. Naro was still at his station, monitoring every piece of data coming in. His voice was full of disbelief. They're targeting the enemy's escape routes. Escape pods are being shot down before they can leave atmosphere. The humans, they're not letting anyone go. Jalen didn't look away from the screen. They didn't come to save us. They came to end this. The room was quiet again, but this time it wasn't fear that held them. It was awe. And something else. Something colder. Unease. Another alert flashed on the main console. A transmission. Naro opened it without hesitation. A voice came through. Calm, deep, steady, no emotion. Secure your defenses. Your city is still compromised. We'll finish this. There was something about the way the voice spoke. Not like a friend, not even like a soldier. It sounded more like a judge, delivering a sentence. Final. Unshakable. Jalen turned to his team. You heard them. Get every soldier we have on the streets. Reinforce every wall, every corner. If they're fighting in the sky, we'll hold the ground. The officers sprang into action. The mood in the room had shifted. There was no time to question, only time to move. Outside, the enemy ground troops, once marching forward with confidence, were now trapped. Their air support was gone. The human ships had blocked every path of escape. What had started as an invasion was now a trap. A cage. Jalen stepped closer to Naro. Can you contact them? The humans, I mean, directly. Naro's fingers danced across the controls. A few seconds later, the reply came. Go ahead. Jalen leaned toward the mic, unsure of what to say. His voice was steady, though his mind swirled with emotion. This is Commander Jalen of Virelia. I don't know how to thank you. You've saved us. There was a long pause. Then the same voice answered. We didn't come for gratitude. Jalen stiffened. He looked at Naro, who looked just as shaken. Then, why did you come? Silence. Finally, the voice returned. To send a message. Jalen's mind raced. A message to who? There was no response. He turned back to the screen. The enemy fleet was gone. Burnt pieces of metal floated in the sky. On the ground, the invaders were being hunted down. No mercy, no second chances. Naro's face was pale. Commander, I think we made a mistake. Jalen said nothing, because deep down he agreed. They had asked for salvation. What had come was something far more dangerous. The battlefield had fallen silent, but it wasn't peace. It was the silence of something terrible having passed through. Smoke drifted across the ruined city. Ash fell from the sky like snow. Virelia had been saved, yes, but not without a cost. Commander Jalen stood on the balcony of the main tower, overlooking the wreckage. Fires still burned in the streets. Buildings lay in pieces. Bodies, both of friend and foe, were scattered across the ground. The people of Virelia had survived, barely, and all because of them. The human ships hovered above like silent giants. Not one had been damaged. Their design was unfamiliar, all sharp edges, dark surfaces, and unnatural symmetry. They didn't look like war machines. They looked like executioners. Naro joined Jalen at the balcony, his face tight with concern. The last enemy forces have been cleared out. We're sweeping the ruins for survivors, but... He hesitated. Jalen looked over. But what? I've been listening to the humans' communications, Naro said, voice low. They're not here for us, not really. They don't care about the people, the city, or even the battle. This was never about helping us. Jalen narrowed his eyes. Then what was it about? There's talk, Naro said, among their commanders, about making an example, a demonstration. A warning, Jalen muttered. Yes, Naro said, quietly. To the galaxy. Jalen turned away, staring up at the sky. The last of the enemy ships had been vaporized. Not even wreckage remained. It was as if they had been erased from existence. The humans hadn't just won the battle, they had sent a message to anyone watching. Later that night, as the fires began to fade and the survivors started cleaning what was left of their homes, the human fleet began to pull away. One by one, their ships disappeared into the stars without a single word. No farewell, no contact, nothing but silence. Jalen watched from the tallest spire, his heart heavy. He didn't feel victorious, he felt used. Naro appeared behind him again. Do you think they'll come back? Jalen didn't answer right away. His mind was still echoing the human's voice. We didn't come for gratitude, we came to send a message. I think they will, he said finally. And next time, it won't be for a rescue. Naro looked worried. You think they'll come for Viralia? Jalen shook his head slowly. I don't know, but I think this war, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something bigger. The two men stood there in silence, looking out at the night sky, now empty, but no longer comforting. The stars above seemed different now, like eyes watching them. The humans had left. But they had also left a scar on the galaxy, and whatever came next. Viralia would never be the same. Days passed, but the weight of what had happened still lingered over Viralia like a dark cloud. The city was alive again, barely. Streets once filled with noise and movement now echoed with the sound of repairs and quiet mourning. People worked together, clearing rubble, patching walls, burying the dead. Life went on, but it was different now, changed. Commander Jalen walked through the shattered remains of the central district, boots crunching over broken glass and metal. Survivors nodded at him with a strange mix of respect and fear. They were grateful, yes, but also wary. Everyone had seen what the humans did. Everyone had heard the voice. We didn't come for gratitude. Those words haunted the air like a ghost. Jalen's thoughts were interrupted when Naro approached him again, holding a data pad with a grim look on his face. We picked up a transmission, Naro said, right before the human ships vanished. Jalen paused. From them? Naro shook his head. No, it wasn't meant for us, but we caught part of it. He handed the device to Jalen. On the screen was a short line of text, barely translated from the strange signal, but it was enough. Let this be remembered. Jalen felt a chill crawl up his spine. It wasn't a message of peace. It wasn't a promise to return. It was something else, a mark, a warning, a reminder to everyone, the invaders, the allies, the innocent, that humanity had acted and that action would echo. Another officer, Commander Laris, stepped forward from behind the debris. Her face was pale. We intercepted something else, she said. An enemy communication. They weren't just fighting us. They were terrified of them, of the humans. They called them the ghosts of war. Jalen frowned. So even the enemy
knew what we were summoning? Laris nodded. They tried to retreat the moment the human ships appeared, not to regroup, but to run. Naro glanced at them both, then lowered his voice. They came to save us.
But I don't think they saved us because they cared. I think they did it because someone was watching. Jalen looked at him sharply. Who? Naro hesitated. We don't know, but I found something buried deep in the battle logs, a message. Not from the humans, but sent to them. Jalen took the pad again. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. The message was short, cold. You have revealed yourselves. The stars are watching. The words hit like a blow. The humans had not only answered a call for help, they had shown their hand, and now someone, or something, had seen them. Something old, something quiet, something waiting. Jalen looked up at the calm, peaceful sky.
It felt like a lie now, too quiet, too still. They didn't just come for war, he said slowly. They lit a beacon, and now someone else is coming. Naro looked up too. Do we warn them? Do we reach out to the humans again? Jalen
was quiet for a long time before answering. We tried once, and it worked, but I don't know if they'll answer again, or if they even care. And deep down, he feared something else. Something worse than invasion. The idea that this entire war, this entire planet, had just been a stage, and the real play hadn't even started yet. The calm that settled over Virelia was uneasy, the kind of silence that didn't bring comfort, but dread. Rebuilding had begun, but whispers moved faster than progress. Everyone had seen what the humans did. Everyone felt the shift in the air. Even the stars above seemed different now, as if the galaxy itself had leaned in, watching, waiting. Inside the command center, Jalen sat alone in the strategy room, the lights dim, the holographic display flickering in front of him. His eyes were fixed on one repeating line of data. You have revealed yourselves. The stars are watching. He had read
it over 100 times,
and still it didn't lose its weight. The doors slid open and Naro stepped in, looking tired and pale. Scouts reported movement, he said, holding a tablet close to his chest. Outer rim, past the debris field. At first, we thought it was leftover enemy tech, but it's not. Jalen raised an eyebrow. Then what is it? Naro hesitated. Something big, not a fleet. It's not moving like ships. It's holding position, watching, right outside our sensor range, just close enough to be noticed, like it wants us to know it's there. A chill crept up Jalen's spine. And the humans? No response, Naro said quietly. We've tried sending signals through every channel.
Radio burst codes, even emergency beacons, nothing. They've gone completely silent. Jalen leaned back in his chair, rubbing his hands together slowly. They never promised anything, he said. They came, they fought, then they disappeared. Maybe.
That's all they ever meant to do, Naro offered. But Jalen wasn't convinced. Deep in his gut, something told him otherwise. The humans didn't act by accident. Every strike in the battle had been perfect. Every move precise. And now this, a strange, hidden force just beyond reach? No, this wasn't over. Hours passed, and sleep never came. Jalen remained in his chamber, pacing. His mind was a mess of doubt, fear, and unanswered questions. At sunrise, alarms blared across the city. Back in the command center, everyone gathered quickly. A sharp spike of energy had been detected from the same area where the unknown force was sitting. Jalen and Naro arrived at the same time, eyes scanning the data. "It's unlike anything we've seen," one officer reported. "Whatever."
It is. It's waking up. The hologram shifted, displaying the mysterious shape. It was massive, not a ship. Something else. No clear design. No energy signature that matched any known species. And then a new signal appeared on the screen. Not
From the unknown force. From the humans. Jalen's breath caught. The transmission opened.
a single image appeared, a human commander, face stern, eyes sharp, voice calm but cold. "You need to leave that system. Now." The room fell dead silent. Jalen stepped forward, trying to keep his voice steady. "Explain." The commander's expression didn't change. "You sent a distress signal."
We answered. But now, something else has answered too. Jalen's heart dropped. "Who?" There was a pause, long and heavy. When the human finally replied, his voice was grave. "The ones who came before." Then the signal went dead. The screen faded into static. For the first time since the war began, Jalen felt real fear. Not from weapons, not from fleets, but from those words. The humans had revealed themselves to the galaxy, and now something ancient had noticed. The air inside the command center felt heavier than ever, not because of gravity, but because of fear. The message from the human commander echoed in Jalen's mind on repeat. "The ones who came before." That wasn't just a warning, it was a name, a title, and it meant something far older than anything they had ever known. Outside, the energy spike was growing. Whatever was out there, it wasn't staying silent anymore. Jalen stood in front of the main display as it shifted and zoomed in on the mysterious
Anomaly. At first it looked like a cloud, dark and shapeless, but slowly it began to form structure, angles that bent in ways that hurt the eyes to look at. Symbols no one could read flickered across its surface, changing faster than anyone
could record them. "It's not a fleet," Naro said, his voice barely a whisper.
"It's not even a ship, is it?" "No," Jalen replied. "It's something else. It's watching." "Should we evacuate?" another officer asked. Jalen stared at the display, thinking. Every instinct screamed to run, but where? And would it even matter? Before he could answer, a soft chime rang out. Another transmission. It wasn't from the humans. And it wasn't from the anomaly, it was from the edge of Virelia's space, a scout patrol. The officer who opened the message turned white as snow. "It's not just one object," she said. "There are more, all around the sector, sitting in the dark, waiting." Naro stepped forward. "It's like they're surrounding us." The silence that followed was suffocating. Then the anomaly changed again. It began pulsing, once every few seconds.
Not light, not sound, something else, like a heartbeat made of gravity. Each pulse sent a strange vibration through the city. Glass cracked, lights dimmed, people collapsed from nausea. It was like reality was being twisted, pulled at the edges. Jalen grabbed the console. "What's happening to the systems?" "They're not failing," Naro replied. "They're bending."
As if something is rewriting the rules. Then the worst sound of all, the emergency override alert. A forced signal had broken into their system. Words appeared on the main screen, not from their language, not from human code. Alien. Ancient.
But the translator barely managed to piece it together. You called out. You made noise. Now the dark is awake. The pulse grew stronger. Naro clutched the side of his desk. This isn't a warning anymore. No, Jalen said grimly. This is a reply. He turned to his officers. We need to try the humans again, now. Naro sent the signal immediately. Direct priority channel, maximum reach. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. General! Naro looked up at him, eyes wide. They're not answering. They said to leave, Jalen whispered. They knew this would happen. Then he understood the full weight of the message. We
came to end wars, but something else has answered too.
The humans hadn't just come to help. They came because they knew. They knew what would wake up. And now it was too late. The skies over Virelia turned darker than night itself, not from clouds or smoke, but from something far worse. The strange object at the edge of their system had begun to move, and now the others were coming too, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all converging, slowly, patiently, like hunters circling a wounded animal. Inside the command center, every screen was lit up with warnings. Systems were crashing, communications were failing, even the planet's gravity felt unstable. Buildings creaked, water rippled in cups without a breeze. People whispered that time itself felt slower. Commander Jalen stood surrounded by the chaos, but his eyes were calm, focused. Something had shifted inside him. The panic was gone now, replaced by a cold clarity. They're not attacking, Naro said. Not yet. They don't need to, Jalen replied. They want us to understand something first. They want us to feel it. Feel what? A young officer asked, trembling. Jalen looked him dead in the eye. That we're nothing, then a miracle. Another signal burst onto the screen. Human transmission. Naro shouted, "It's them! The humans!" Everyone turned to the screen as it flickered to life. The same human commander appeared, but his face looked different now. Tired, drawn, like someone standing on the edge of a cliff. "You didn't listen," the human said. "We told you to leave." Jalen stepped forward, voice hard. "We couldn't. We had nowhere to go. You left us with no explanation, no help, just silence." The human paused. Then he said something that silenced the entire room. "Because we're not in control anymore." Jalen's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" he asked. The human leaned closer to the screen. "You think we're the strongest, that we're the monsters of the galaxy? You're wrong. We were only the first. To see what was really out there," he gestured to the darkness behind him, "the ones who came before. They don't destroy with weapons. They destroy with fear, with silence, with things your mind can't even process. They're not gods. They're not demons. They're what comes when noise reaches too far." Or stared at the screen. "Then why did you come at all?" The human's face twisted into something that looked like pity. "Because we knew someone would scream into the dark eventually. We came to delay the price, not stop it." Suddenly a deep sound filled the room. No speakers, no vibration. It was inside their minds. A voice. "You are seen." People collapsed. Some screamed, some went completely still. The room's lights exploded, consoles fried. Naro clutched his head, trying not to black out. "They're inside the systems," he gasped. "Inside everything!" Jalen could barely stand. He looked up at the screen. The human was still there, but not moving. Frozen, the transmission blinked once, then disappeared. Only one final line remained on screen. "Let this be remembered." And then darkness. No power, no light, no noise, just the cold. And far above Virelia, the stars blinked slowly. Not out of beauty, but like eyes watching, waiting.